The red and blue lights flash in the evening darkness. Officer Tanner Mitchell's hand hovers near his gun. The black driver slowly reaches out, not with a license, but with a police chief's badge. Officer Mitchell's sneer vanishes instantly. The dashboard camera captures his complete transformation from confident authority to pure panic in just seconds. The driver watches calmly with observant eyes. He's witnessed this behavior before, but never from this position. Every microaggression, every power play, every career-ending moment recorded in perfect clarity. The next minute will shape both their futures. Officer Tanner Mitchell cruises through Oak Ridge Estates, the city's wealthiest neighborhood. Elegant homes sit back from spotless streets, with property values that naturally filter who lives here. His patrol car moves unhurriedly, a protective presence for the residents he considers the city's backbone. That Mitchell's official record shows 0 complaints. 13 years on the force, for commendations for bravery, respected by his fellow officers. What his file doesn't reveal is his internal ranking system. Who belongs where? Who deserves extra attention? Who gets the benefit of the doubt? Dispatch, I'm on patrol in Oak Ridge Estates, he radios, watching the quiet streets. All clear for now. But in his mind runs a different story. These neighborhoods need protection from outsiders. There's a reason property values remain high. There's a reason people feel safe. He believes he's that reason. 3 streets over, Marcus Jackson adjusts his rearview mirror, navigating the unfamiliar roads of his new neighborhood. His BMW handles the curves smoothly. The moving truck delivered his family's essentials to their new house yesterday. Today is about helping everyone settle in before Monday, when he officially starts as the city's new police chief. After 20 years of distinguished service in Houston, rising to deputy commissioner, Marcus accepted this position for the challenge and opportunity to implement his community-first policing approach. The move hasn't been easy on his family, but the promotion makes their sacrifices worthwhile. Marcus slows at a 4-way stop, checking his GPS. 2 more turns until home. His thoughts already organize priorities for his first week, meeting key personnel, reviewing department policies, building relationships with community leaders. Mitchell spots the BMW from 2 blocks away. Expensive car, black driver, unfamiliar face. Mental flags raise automatically. He doesn't consciously acknowledge his thought process, but the calculation happens regardless. The BMW approaches a stop sign, rolls forward slightly before stopping, then proceeds. The violation is minor, the kind Mitchell would normally ignore. But today it's enough. The patrol car's lights flash. Marcus notices immediately, checks his speed out of habit, then signals and pulls to the curb. He takes a deep breath, places both hands on the wheel, and waits. As Mitchell walks toward the driver's window. He has no idea he's approaching a turning point that will expose everything he tries to hide. Mitchell approaches the BMW with calculated slowness, scanning for movement through tinted windows. His right hand rests near his holster, not drawing attention to the weapon, but keeping it accessible. Years of traffic stops have taught him to expect anything. Marcus watches the officer's approach in his side mirror. The deliberate walk, the positioned hand, signals he recognizes immediately. He's trained officers himself on proper procedure, but also recognizes when caution crosses into intimidation. He remains perfectly still. The window glides down silently. Marcus offers a neutral smile. "Good afternoon, officer." Mitchell stands slightly behind the doorframe, positioning himself at an angle that establishes dominance. "License and registration. Do you know why I pulled you over today?" "I'm not certain," Marcus responds, voice measured. "Was I speeding? You rolled through that stop sign back there." Mitchell's tone suggests he's caught someone in a major violation rather than a minor traffic infraction. "This is a safe neighborhood. We take traffic laws seriously here." Marcus nods. "I apologize if I didn't come to a complete stop. I'm still learning the area. New to the neighborhood. Are you?" Mitchell's question carries weight beyond simple conversation. "That's a nice car. What brings you to Oak Ridge Estates?" "I recently relocated for work," Marcus says, reaching slowly for his wallet. "Here's my license." Marcus considers revealing his position but decides against it. The interaction interests him professionally. This is raw data about his new department's street-level conduct. He hands over his license without comment. "I'll need to see registration as well," Mitchell says, taking the license with a critical eye. Marcus retrieves the registration from his glove compartment with deliberate movements. Acutely aware of how sudden gestures might be interpreted, he hands it over, maintaining eye contact. Wait here, Mitchell instructs. Walking back to his patrol car in the privacy of his vehicle, Mitchell radios his partner. Got a 1029 on a black male in Oak Ridge Estates, driving a vehicle above his pay grade. Running his info now. Anyone we know? Comes the crackling response. Nah, out-of-state plates. Probably just passing through where he doesn't belong. Mitchell chuckles, typing Marcus's information into his computer. You know how they like to drive through here, pretending. Marcus sits motionless, watching Mitchell in his rearview mirror. His expression remains neutral, but his mind catalogs every procedural violation, every loaded phrase, every microaggression. As a former internal affairs officer, the patterns are familiar. As the person experiencing them, they take on new significance. Mitchell returns to the BMW with different energy, more assertive, shoulders squared. The computer check revealed nothing concerning, just a clean driving record and a Texas address. This bothers him more than he admits to himself. His instincts told him something was off, and his instincts are rarely wrong. Step out of the vehicle, please, he commands, no longer framing it as a request. Marcus pauses. May I ask why that's necessary, Officer Mitchell? He notes the name plate now that the officer stands closer. Standard procedure, Mitchell lies. Smoothly. When we have out-of-state visitors in residential areas, we like to be thorough. Marcus knows this isn't standard procedure for a rolling stop. It's an escalation without cause. Still, he complies, opening the door slowly and stepping onto the pavement. Face the vehicle, hands on the hood, please. Marcus complies again, feeling the weight of each movement. The luxury car's hood is warm beneath his palms. A passing car slows, occupants watching the scene unfold, a well-dressed black man being detained by a white officer in an affluent neighborhood. The optics aren't lost on Marcus. Spread your feet, Mitchell instructs, beginning a pat-down that's unnecessary for a traffic violation. Marcus endures the humiliation silently, aware of eyes from neighboring houses. Now, a woman walking her dog across the street slows her pace, watching with visible concern. What brings you to Oak Ridge Estates today? Mitchell asks again, pat down complete, but keeping Marcus facing away from him. As I mentioned, I recently relocated for work. What kind of work would that be? The question carries insinuation. Law enforcement. Marcus answers truthfully, but incompletely. Mitchell pauses. Security guard? Something like that. Mitchell gestures toward the curb. Have a seat there while I verify a few more details. Marcus sits on the curb as instructed, the indignity compounding. He's wearing a tailored suit worth more than Mitchell's monthly salary, now collecting dust from the roadside. He remains composed, watching Mitchell return to the patrol car. The woman with the dog approaches hesitantly. Is everything okay here? She asks, looking between Marcus and the officer. Everything's fine, ma'am. Mitchell interjects before Marcus can respond. Just handling a situation. You can continue on your way. I live just there. She points, reluctant to leave. Are you sure, ma'am? Mitchell's voice hardens slightly. This gentleman isn't from around here. We're just making sure everything's in order. Police business. The woman hesitates, looks apologetically at Marcus, then continues walking, glancing back several times. Marcus memorizes her face, a potential witness. He also notes Mitchell's badge number and patrol car identification, information already committed to memory from years of investigative work. His humiliation serves a purpose now. Each moment adds to the comprehensive picture of departmental conduct he's building. A teenage boy on a bicycle stops across the street, phone clearly recording the scene. Mitchell doesn't notice, focused on Marcus and his computer check. Marcus gives no indication he's seen the boy either, but internally acknowledges another witness documenting the encounter. What Officer Mitchell couldn't see was the text message Marcus had just sent, or the multiple witnesses now recording the entire incident from their front porches. After nearly 20 minutes of pointless detention, Mitchell returns with Marcus's license and a warning citation. He hands them over with a professionally blank expression that doesn't reach his eyes. Just a warning today, Mr. Jackson. Make sure you come to a complete stop at intersections in the future. His tone shifts slightly, dropping into something more personal. Oak Ridge Estates has a lot of children playing. We take traffic safety very seriously here. Marcus accepts the paperwork with a steady hand. Thank you, officer. And since you're new to the area, Mitchell adds, you should know. We patrol these streets regularly. I'll keep an eye out for you. The threat veiled as community policing doesn't go unnoticed. Marcus nods once, returning to his car with measured steps. Only when the door closes does he allow himself a deep exhale, hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles whiten. The patrol car remains behind him, lights still flashing. Marcus starts the BMW and pulls away slowly, perfectly signaling his turn. In the rearview mirror, he watches Mitchell watching him until the road curves and breaks their visual connection 0.2 blocks away. Marcus pulls into a coffee shop parking lot. His hands shake slightly, not from fear, but from controlled anger, the kind that doesn't explode, but burns methodically, fueling purpose rather than destroying it. He reaches for his phone and dials a number from memory. Natalie, it's Marcus Jackson. His voice remains professional despite the adrenaline still coursing through him. Yes, I'm in town. Actually, I've just had an interesting welcome to the city from one of our officers. He listens briefly. No, I'd prefer no immediate action. This may be useful. Yes, a learning opportunity. Could you secure the dash cam footage from Officer Tanner Mitchell's patrol car today? Approximately 2:30 p.m. Have it available, but don't mention it to anyone yet. He ends the call, then opens his contacts again. The city manager who recruited him deserves to know, but Marcus frames it carefully when the man answers. Thomas, it's Marcus. I've arrived in town. Yes, the house is suitable. Listen, something happened today that you should be aware of, though I don't want any immediate action taken. He explains the traffic stop in clinical detail, emphasizing factual observations over emotional responses. The city manager's outrage grows audible, but Marcus remains calm. No, I want to handle this myself. It's actually given me valuable insight. He pauses. I'd appreciate your discretion until I officially start on Monday. Meanwhile, Mitchell parks at a convenience store. 2 miles away, radioing his partner again. That Jackson guy? Nothing came up. Clean record. He sounds almost disappointed. Something fell off, though. Guy said he works in law enforcement, but acted strange about it. Probably security at the mall or something trying to sound important. You. Let him go. His partner asks. Gave him a warning. Made sure he knows we're watching. Mitchell chuckles. Better take the long way around Oak Ridge Estates next time. You're terrible, man, his partner responds, but there's uncomfortable laughter in his voice. One of these days that attitude's going to bite you. Been doing this 13 years. Mitchell dismisses the concern. I know the type. Trust me. Back at his new home, Marcus greets his wife and daughter with forced cheerfulness. When his wife notices his distraction and asks what's wrong, he provides a simplified version of events. Just a minor traffic stop. Nothing serious. His reassurance isn't entirely convincing. Was it because his wife doesn't finish the question? Probably. Marcus answers. But it's actually given me some clarity about priorities for the department. Later that evening, after family matters are settled, Marcus sits at his desk with the warning citation before him. He opens his laptop and begins typing a detailed account of the incident. Time, location, officer information, sequence of events. Procedural violations, witnesses. The document reads like an internal affairs report because that's exactly what it is. He reviews department policies on traffic stops, highlighting each violation. When finished, he saves the document and sends another email requesting radio transmissions from Mitchell's patrol car during the time of the stop. Evidence gathering is second nature after decades in law enforcement. The difference now is that he has the authority to ensure consequences that in exactly 1 week. Officer Mitchell would walk into the morning briefing to find a surprise that would make his blood run cold. Mitchell's patrol car glides through Oak Ridge Estates the following afternoon. His partner, Officer Reyes, riding shotgun. The rhythm of their shift feels routine. Community visibility patrol, responding to minor calls, maintaining order in a city sector that rarely experiences serious crime. So, you really made that guy sit on the curb yesterday? Reyes asks, breaking a comfortable silence. For a rolling stop? He was suspicious, Mitchell defends. Out-of-state plates. Couldn't give a straight answer about why he was in the neighborhood. He glances at his partner. You weren't there? Something felt off. Reyes shifts uncomfortably. Just saying, man. Department's under scrutiny these days. Social media and all that. Since when do you worry about Twitter cops? Mitchell scoffs. We're doing our jobs. If people don't like how we do it, they should try living without us for a week. Reyes falls silent, choosing not to argue. Their working relationship functions through selective engagement, knowing which battles matter. Mitchell interprets the silence as agreement rather than the reluctant acquiescence it actually represents. Across town, Marcus Jackson sits across from Thomas Wright, the city manager, and Vanessa Patel, HR director. The conference room's large. Windows overlook the city center, a view Marcus barely notices as he focuses on the laptop screen before them. This is from Officer Mitchell's dash cam. Marcus explains, playing the footage of yesterday's traffic stop. Notice his hand position as he approaches, the immediate escalation to a vehicle exit, and search despite no probable cause. Thomas Wright's expression darkens as he watches. This is completely unacceptable. We should begin termination proceedings immediately. No, Marcus counters firmly. That solves nothing. With all due respect, Patel interjects. This is textbook harassment. The liability alone. This isn't about liability or an individual officer, Marcus interrupts. If we terminate Mitchell, the department narratives become about one bad apple rather than addressing the cultural environment that enables this behavior. He closes the laptop, leaning forward. When I accepted this position, we discussed my vision for community-oriented policing. This incident confirms the necessity of that approach. Firing one officer doesn't create institutional change. It just makes everyone else better at hiding problematic behavior. What do you propose instead? Wright asks, skepticism evident. I start my official duties today, not Monday. Quietly. No announcement. I need to review personnel files, complaint histories, and department metrics before making myself known. Marcus's expression remains professional but determined. This isn't just about Mitchell. I need to understand who enables him, who opposes him, and who remains silent. Wright and Patel exchange glances, recognizing the strategic approach of an experienced law enforcement professional. Their initial reactive anger gives way to respect for his methodical response. You have our full support, Wright finally agrees. Whatever resources you need. Meanwhile, Mitchell and Reyes respond to a call about a suspicious person in a residential area near downtown, a lower-income neighborhood than Oak Ridge Estates, but undergoing gentrification that creates tension between established residents and newcomers. The suspicious person turns out to be a Latino teenager walking home from baseball practice. Mitchell approaches with the same authoritative stance he used with Marcus, though slightly less aggressive. The questioning follows familiar patterns. Where are you going? Where do you live? What's in the bag? The interaction ends without incident, but Reyes notices the teenager's resigned expression, the look of someone who experiences these stops regularly. It's routine for the officers, procedural. For the teenager, it's another reminder of his provisional status in public spaces. Kid seems fine, Mitchell comments as they return to the patrol car. Just checking things out. Reyes nods without speaking, adding another item to his mental list of concerns he never voices. The department culture doesn't reward those who question established practices, especially coming from a junior officer partnered with a veteran like Mitchell. By evening, Marcus has established a temporary office in a conference room at headquarters. His presence known only to a handful of administrative staff sworn to secrecy. Personnel files cover the table, organized into patterns only he recognizes. Complaint records, commendations, patrol assignments, arrest statistics. The data tells stories beyond individual incidents. A pattern emerges around Mitchell and 4 other officers with similar behavioral markers. More concerning are the supervisors who dismissed civilian complaints against these officers, creating an environment where accountability evaporates before reaching consequential levels. Marcus makes notes in his precise handwriting, mapping connections invisible to those embedded in the system. This isn't just about racism. It's about power, accountability, and the corrupting effect of unchecked authority. The solutions must address all levels of the dysfunction. A.S. Marcus reviewed the pattern of complaints. One name kept appearing in witness statements. Someone who could bring the entire house of cards tumbling down. The community center on Maple. Avenue sits at the boundary between Oak Ridge Estates and the more diverse Riverside neighborhood. Marcus arrives in casual clothes, with no indicators of his profession or new position. The building hosts tonight's community forum on police community relations, a regular event typically attended by the same frustrated citizens and the same defensive department representatives. Marcus takes a seat in the back row, notebook in hand. He observes without engaging, cataloging faces and dynamics. The moderator, a retired school teacher, maintains admirable neutrality despite obvious tension in the room. I've filed 3 complaints about targeted traffic stops in my neighborhood, a middle-aged black woman states firmly. Each time the investigation concludes with insufficient evidence, despite multiple witnesses. A police representative offers practiced responses about proper channels and procedural requirements. Marcus notes how the bureaucratic language creates distance rather than connection. The woman's frustration visibly grows with each non-answer. After the meeting, Marcus approaches her in the parking lot. "Ms. Wilson, I found your comments insightful." She regards him with justifiable suspicion. "And you are?" "Marcus Jackson. I'm new to the city, trying to understand community concerns." Not a lie, though incomplete. "Would you be willing to share more about your experiences with the department?" Her hesitation lasts several seconds before deciding to trust him. "If you're genuinely interested, several of us meet at Riverside Coffee on Thursdays." Marcus collects similar connections throughout the week, small conversations, contact information, invitations to community gatherings. He builds a network of voices systematically excluded from official channels, each providing pieces to the larger puzzle. Across town, in a local bar popular with law enforcement, Mitchell sits with a group of officers from his shift. The evening ritual involves cold beer, department gossip, and the occasional complaint about administration. "Heard we're getting a new chief next week," Officer Lopez mentions, signaling for another round. "What's the point?" Mitchell dismisses. "Another politician in a uniform. They come in talking reform, then realize they need us more than we need them." "Word is this one's from Houston," adds Sergeant Cooper, some hotshot who turned around their community policing division. "Community policing?" Mitchell mockingly echoes. "Coffee with complainers while real crime happens elsewhere." "I don't know." Officer Turner interjects cautiously. "Those departments with solid community relationships get better intelligence, more witnesses cooperating. That your professional assessment after your whole 2 years on the force." Mitchell's tone carries enough edge that Turner immediately backpedals, claiming he's just repeating what they taught at the academy. The conversation shifts to safer topics: weekend plans, sports, equipment complaints. Underneath runs the current of resistance to change, particularly from officers like Mitchell, whose identity and authority remain intertwined. Marcus spends his 3rd evening at headquarters reviewing body camera footage of Mitchell and officers with similar complaint patterns. He identifies Officer Zoe Ramirez, a 5-year veteran whose reports occasionally contain subtle contradictions to Mitchell's when they respond to calls together. Her performance reviews show excellence in community engagement but stalled promotion prospects. The next morning, Marcus arranges a casual encounter with Ramirez in the department gym, introducing himself as a new transfer without revealing his rank. Their conversation remains professional but provides Marcus insights into departmental dynamics from a perspective unfiltered by knowledge of his position. Challenging environment. Marcus asks between sets. Ramirez measures her response carefully. "Like anywhere. Good officers trying their best. And the not so good." Her pause speaks volumes. "Protected by the right connections. Same as any department, I imagine." Marcus builds similar connections with other officers identified through personnel reviews, those with ethical complaint records, community engagement commitments, or patterns of reporting that diverge from problematic officers. A shadow network forms, unseen by those who believe the status quo immutable. Friday afternoon, an all-staff email circulates announcing Monday's introduction of the new chief of police. No biographical information, no photograph, just a time and location for the briefing. Speculation spreads throughout the department, officers and civilian staff alike constructing narratives about what changes might come. Mitchell reads the email with indifference. "Another suit telling cops how to police," he comments to Reyes. 2 weeks of reform talk, then back to reality. "You never know," Reyes responds. Might be different this time. Mitchell laughs. When's the last time anything really changed? Around here? We'll outlast this one, just like the others. The weekend passed with whispers and speculation, but no one, especially not Officer Mitchell, could have predicted what Monday morning would reveal. Monday morning arrives with the predictable rhythms of shift change. Officers gather in the briefing room, dividing naturally into their usual social groupings. Mitchell and his circle claim the back row, coffee cups in hand, exchanging weekend stories punctuated by knowing laughter. The room quiets as Captain Rivera steps to the podium. His normally relaxed demeanor appears slightly strained, an observation not lost on the more perceptive officers. Good morning, Rivera begins. As you're all aware, today we welcome our new chief of police. I expect everyone to demonstrate the professionalism and respect that defines this department. Mitchell leans toward Officer Cooper, whispering something that elicits a smothered laugh. Rivera pauses, glancing in their direction before continuing. Chief, Jackson comes to us with an impressive record of innovation and leadership. His work in Houston revolutionized their community policing division and significantly reduced both crime rates and civilian complaints. Mitchell rolls his eyes, the gesture caught by several officers who've positioned themselves strategically throughout the room, Marcus's quiet allies identified during the past week. Without further delay, Rivera concludes, please welcome Chief Marcus Jackson. The side door opens. Marcus enters wearing the formal uniform of the department's chief, stars gleaming on his collar. His posture communicates authority without arrogance, his expression professionally neutral as he surveys the room, eye in the back row. Mitchell's coffee cup freezes halfway to his mouth. Recognition dawns in stages across his face, confusion, disbelief, then the hollow realization of his vulnerability. The cup lowers slowly as if he's forgotten he's holding it. Marcus steps to the podium without acknowledging Mitchell specifically, though several officers notice his gaze lingering briefly on the back row. Thank you, Captain Rivera. Marcus's voice carries easily through the suddenly silent room. I appreciate the welcome and look forward to working with each of you. His presentation proceeds with methodical precision, department priorities, community engagement initiatives, accountability measures. Each point references specific policies that directly address issues from Mitchell's traffic stop without ever mentioning the incident. Body cameras will remain activated during all civilian interactions, Marcus emphasizes. No exceptions. These protect both the public and officers from misunderstandings or misrepresentations. Officers exchange glances, sensing the subtle shift in departmental gravity. This isn't the typical vague reform language of previous administrations, but specific, actionable directives with clear expectations. Traffic enforcement should focus on genuine safety concerns, Marcus continues, not as pretexts for investigative stops without reasonable suspicion. Our metrics will shift accordingly, quality of community safety outcomes rather than quantity of citations. With each point, Mitchell seems to physically diminish in his chair. Colleagues previously aligned with him create subtle distance, shifting in their seats or focusing intently on taking notes. I believe in second chances, Marcus concludes, meeting various officers' eyes around the room. I also believe in accountability. Both are essential to a department that serves its community with integrity. My door is open to those committed to these values. Following the briefing, officers form a line to introduce themselves to their new chief. Marcus greets each with genuine attention, connecting names with details gleaned from personnel files without revealing the extent of his preparation. Mitchell attempts to slip out a side door, using the crowd as cover. Officer Mitchell, Marcus's voice cuts through the room's conversation. A moment, please. The room doesn't quite fall silent, but attention shifts toward this first test of the new command structure. Mitchell turns slowly, professional mask firmly in place as he approaches. Chief Jackson. He extends his hand with forced confidence. Marcus accepts the handshake, maintaining eye contact. I'd like to see you in my office at 2 o'clock. Yes, sir. Mitchell's voice betrays nothing, but the pulse visible at his throat tells a different story. Thank you. Marcus turns to the next officer, effectively dismissing Mitchell without further comment. Mitchell exits the briefing room, immediately pulling out his phone to call the union representative. The conversation is brief and urgent, ending with Mitchell pacing the parking lot, reality settling around him like a shrinking cell that he returns to the station and approaches the records department, requesting access to his dash cam footage from the previous week. The clerk's apologetic response confirms his fears. Those files were transferred to the chief's office this morning. You'll need to request access through proper channels. Mitchell's union representative meets him in the station cafeteria. There. Conversation conducted in hushed tones over untouched coffee. How bad is the footage? The rep asks bluntly. Community members provide testimony. Stories of biased enforcement, disproportionate scrutiny, accumulated indignities that shaped their relationship with law enforcement. Their accounts transform abstract policy discussions into human impact. Statements.ms. Wilson, whom Marcus met at the community forum, speaks directly to the council. I've lived in this city for 37 years. I've filed complaints, attended forums, followed proper channels. This is the first time I've seen leadership acknowledge the problem exists, let alone present solutions. Councilman Foster, a former prosecutor, known for his law enforcement support, shifts uncomfortably. Chief Jackson, these reforms place additional burdens on officers already performing difficult jobs. How do you respond to concerns about officer morale? True morale comes from meaningful work performed with integrity. Marcus responds. Our good officers, and they are the majority, want to serve communities that trust them. These reforms give them that opportunity. Internal Affairs Captain Santos sits with visible discomfort as Marcus outlines changes to the complaint review process. External Oversight Board, transparent tracking systems, elimination of preliminary dismissal options that had buried legitimate concerns. Captain Santos will lead implementation, Marcus announces, meeting the man's surprised gaze directly. His extensive experience with the current system provides valuable insight into necessary improvements. The strategic assignment isn't lost on department observers. The official most responsible for the previous system's failures, now accountable for its reformation. As the council meeting concludes, the city manager addresses the room. The administration fully supports Chief Jackson's initiatives. These represent the commitments to community-responsive policing that we outlined in our strategic plan last year. The carefully worded statement places the council in a difficult position. Opposing reforms means contradicting their own published priorities. Political calculus plays across council members' faces as they recognize the elegant trap. Following the public meeting, Marcus faces the assembled media. Cameras capture his measured responses, the contrast between his calm demeanor and the significance of his announcements creating compelling footage for evening news. This isn't about one incident or one officer, he explains when questioned. About specifics, this is about aligning our practices with our stated values. We cannot claim to protect and serve while maintaining systems that undermine community trust. Behind the scenes, union representatives meet with city attorneys, discovering limited options for opposing the reforms. Marcus's legal background and methodical implementation leave few procedural openings for challenge. The union president privately concedes they're outmatched, shifting strategy towards shaping implementation rather than preventing it. Officer Ramirez approaches Marcus as he returns to headquarters. Several officers would like to speak with you, Chief. The meeting reveals unexpected allies, officers who've recognized problems but found no institutional support for addressing them. They offer insights, suggest refinements, and most importantly, commit to the new direction. There are more of us than you might think, Ramirez tells him. We joined to make a difference. These changes give us that chance. By week's end, Mitchell submits his decision through his union representative. He'll participate in the accountability process. The choice appears less about redemption than survival. But Marcus recognizes that meaningful change often begins with pragmatic compliance before attitudinal shift. As the hearing date approached, Mitchell faced a choice that would define not just his career, but the person he would become when stripped of the power he had abused. The disciplinary hearing room contains no spectators, no media, just the review panel, necessary participants, and the weight of consequence. 7 chairs form a semicircle facing a single seat. The arrangement itself communicates the power dynamic at work. Mitchell enters wearing his Class A uniform, the formal dress of department ceremonies rather than his daily patrol attire. The choice reads as both respect for the proceedings and armor against judgment. His expression maintains professional neutrality, though the tightness around his eyes betrays underlying stress. The panel represents diverse perspectives: two senior officers, a civilian oversight representative, the city's HR director, an ethics professor from the local university, a community leader, and Marcus himself. Their collective presence transforms what might have been an internal police matter into a community reckoning. This hearing will determine appropriate accountability measures for Officer Tanner Mitchell regarding substantiated violations of department policies. The civilian chair begins. This is not a criminal proceeding, but an administrative review with potential employment consequences. Mitchell sits rigidly as evidence unfolds: dash cam footage, complaint histories, statistical analyses of his traffic stops compared to departmental averages. Each presentation builds a comprehensive picture beyond the isolated incident with Marcus. When invited to respond, Mitchell begins with practiced defensiveness. "My record shows 13 years of dedicated service," he states. "I've worked dangerous assignments and maintained community safety throughout my career." "No one questions your technical competence, Officer Mitchell," the ethics professor interjects. "What concerns us is the pattern of discretionary judgments revealed by this evidence." The distinction pierces Mitchell's prepared narrative. His gaze drops momentarily as he recalibrates his approach. "I followed my training," he continues, voice less certain. "We were taught to be proactive, to trust our instincts about suspicious circumstances." "And what made Mr. Jackson's presence in Oak Ridge Estates suspicious?" a community representative asks. The question hangs uncomfortable in the room. Mitchell's internal struggle plays across his face, the conflict between continued denial and the dawning recognition that honesty might offer his only path forward. "I made assumptions," he finally admits, the words seemingly painful to extract, "based on patterns I thought I recognized." "Racial patterns?" the representative presses. Mitchell's silence confirms what he cannot yet verbalize. "Officer Mitchell," Marcus speaks for the first time, "this panel doesn't expect perfection. We're looking for accountability and capacity for growth. Those require honest self-assessment." Something in Marcus's tone, professional yet not unsympathetic, creates space for vulnerability rather than defensive posturing. "Throughout my career, certain approaches were rewarded," Mitchell continues, voice steadier now. "Statistical productivity, proactive interventions. Nobody questioned how we chose which vehicles to stop or which neighborhoods needed additional scrutiny." He straightens in his chair. "That doesn't excuse my actions, but it explains the context in which they developed." The panel exchanges glances. This represents progress beyond the expected denial. Marcus nods slightly, encouraging continued reflection. "My father was a police officer," Mitchell adds unexpectedly. "He policed the way he was taught, which is how his father policed before him. I thought I was carrying on a tradition of protecting communities." "At what point did you recognize that tradition might contain flawed assumptions?" the ethics professor asks. "I'm not sure I fully did until recently," Mitchell admits. "Certain attitudes were so normalized, they became invisible, like background radiation. You don't notice until someone measures it." The panel deliberates for 90 minutes while Mitchell waits in a separate room, the solitude providing unavoidable space for reflection. When recalled, he stands before them with diminished defensiveness, something closer to resignation having replaced his earlier rigidity. The chair delivers their determination. Officer Tanner Mitchell will be suspended without pay for 60 days, during which he will complete comprehensive implicit bias training, cultural competency education, and community engagement activities under supervision. Following suspension, he will serve 6 months in an administrative capacity while completing additional requirements, including community service in neighborhoods where his enforcement activities showed statistical disparities. Mitchell receives the determination with complex emotions crossing his face: relief at avoiding termination, resentment at the requirements, and something less definable that might be the first recognition of genuine accountability. "Do you accept these terms, Officer Mitchell?" the chair asks. "Yes." The single word carries the weight of a journey not yet begun, but now unavoidable. 6 months transform the department in ways both visible and foundational. The physical space reflects the philosophical shift. The lobby now displays community artwork, conference rooms renamed after neighborhoods rather than former chiefs, bulletin boards showcasing positive officer-community interactions alongside traditional recognition. More significant changes occur beneath surface appearances. Recruitment practices expand beyond traditional pipelines, attracting candidates from diverse backgrounds. The academy curriculum now includes substantial training on implicit bias, cultural competency, and ethical decision-making taught by community representatives alongside veteran officers. Marcus reviews statistical reports with his command staff, the data projecting on the conference room wall. Traffic enforcement patterns show significant changes, he notes. Citations for serious moving violations are up 12%, while investigative stops without resulting citations have decreased 37%. Civilian complaints down 22% overall, Captain Rivera points out. But more significantly, the geographic distribution has evened out across neighborhoods. The substance of complaints has shifted too, adds Lieutenant Ramirez, recently promoted to head the Community Engagement Division. We're seeing fewer allegations of disrespect or bias, and more procedural concerns that can be addressed through training. The comprehensive review of department policies continues producing substantive changes. Use of force guidelines clarified, de-escalation requirements strengthened, performance evaluations restructured to prioritize community trust alongside traditional metrics. Officers initially resistant to reform find themselves navigating changed expectations. Some transfer to other departments seeking more traditional environments. Others adapt pragmatically, behavior shifting before attitudes. A notable minority embraced the changes wholeheartedly. Their previously suppressed commitment to ethical policing finding institutional support. Community advisory boards transition from symbolic forums to influential bodies with genuine input on policies and priorities. Their quarterly meetings feature robust discussions rather than ceremonial presentations, disagreement valued as productive rather than adversarial. Survey data shows measurable improvement in community perceptions, trust increasing incrementally. In previously alienated neighborhoods, cooperation with investigations rising alongside willingness to report crimes and provide witness statements. The causation is clear. Marcus explains to the City Council. When communities trust that enforcement will be fair and respectful, they participate more fully in public safety partnerships. State-level police leadership takes notice. Marcus receives invitations to present at regional conferences, consultant requests from neighboring departments, interest from state legislators considering reform legislation. The department's approach becomes a case study in implementing meaningful change without sacrificing effective policing. Throughout this transformation, Mitchell completes his prescribed program, initial reluctance evolving into something more complex. The implicit bias training initially triggers defensiveness, but skilled facilitators create space for reflection rather than accusation. Community service places him in neighborhoods he previously viewed only through patrol car windows. Working alongside residents on neighborhood improvement projects gradually transforms abstract demographics into individual relationships. Theoretical concepts of equity become concrete through shared effort and conversation. The mentorship component proves particularly transformative. Paired with Ms. Wilson, the community advocate whose complaints he once dismissed, Mitchell experiences uncomfortable but necessary conversations about impact versus intention. I never saw myself as racist, he admits during one session. Most people don't, she responds without accusation. But impact matters more than self-perception. On the anniversary of that fateful traffic stop, two men would sit across from each other at a community center, neither the same person they had been that day. The community center bustles with activity, families gathering for the neighborhood. Safety fair, organized jointly by resident associations and the police department. Information booths line the walls, children participate in identification card programs, and officers engage in conversations unrelated to enforcement actions. Marcus moves through the space in civilian clothes, his position evident only to those who recognize him personally. He observes interactions rather than directing them, measuring success through the natural rhythm of engagement rather than ceremonial acknowledgments. Point 1 year has transformed theoretical reforms into operational reality. The department culture hasn't reached perfection. Change never follows linear progress, but the trajectory remains clear through measurable outcomes and shifting attitudes. Chief Jackson, Ms. Wilson approaches with the confidence of established relationship. The turnout exceeds our expectations. Your organizing committee deserves the credit, Marcus responds. This is community-led in substance, not just appearance. Having officers participate as community members rather than authority figures makes a difference. People are talking with them, not just around them, she observes. Across the room, Mitchell staffs a bicycle safety booth, helping a father adjust his daughter's helmet. The interaction flows naturally, no performative engagement or defensive posture, just straightforward service. He's visibly aged during the past year, stress etching new lines around his eyes. But his body language communicates something closer to peace than the rigid authority he once projected. Officer Mitchell has surprised many of us, Ms. Wilson acknowledges, following Marcus's gaze. Myself included. People can change when institutions create the right conditions, Marcus responds. Not everyone, not completely, but enough to matter. Throughout the afternoon, residents approach Marcus with varied perspectives, appreciation for specific changes, ongoing concerns, suggestions for further improvements. He listens more than speaks, recognizing that sustainable reform requires continuous community input rather than administrative declarations. As the event winds down, Marcus finds himself momentarily alone near the refreshment table. Mitchell approaches with purpose, but without his former intimidation tactics. Chief Jackson, he nods respectfully. Good turnout today. Officer Mitchell, Marcus returns the acknowledgement. Your bicycle safety demonstration was well received. The awkward formality between them acknowledges their history without dwelling on it. Neither man is fully comfortable, but professional respect has replaced their previous power dynamic. I've been meaning to say something, Mitchell begins, then pauses to organize his thoughts. A year ago, I would have considered today's event a waste of resources. Now I see its value for both the community and officers. The badge isn't about power over others, Marcus responds. It's about service to all. When we forget that, we become what we're supposed to protect against. Power dynamics shape every workplace, every community, every interaction between authority and those subject to it. We witness these dynamics play out in headlines and personal experiences, from traffic stops to corporate boardrooms, classroom disciplinary actions to healthcare decisions. The common thread connecting these varied contexts is the potential for authority to serve either as protection or weapon. Marcus Jackson's journey from humiliated driver to transformative leader demonstrates the rare opportunity to experience both sides of power's equation. Few who suffer from authority's abuse gain the position to reform the systems that enabled it. Fewer still use that opportunity for genuine transformation rather than retribution. What changes would you implement to ensure accountability in your workplace? Share your ideas below.